January 31st, 2026. Kuala Lumpur. Outside Axiata Arena for DAY6's concert, the line shuffles forward, wrists stamped, phones ready, until a bag opens and a long camera lens glints. Feel the tension? Here's the kicker. The event guide says only mobile phone cameras are allowed. Not big lenses, not pro rigs. So when someone brings one anyway, it's not just fandom, it's rules. Now imagine you're a local fan who saved for months, got one night, one seat, one view. And suddenly a shoulder-high camera blocks your idol. What would you do? Stay quiet? That's the spark. A video hits X, the photographer's face is visible, and suddenly everyone's a prosecutor. No judge, no context, just reactions. You've seen that movie before, right? This story isn't really about DAY6 or Malaysia or even cameras. It's about dignity. Who gets to bend rules, who gets punished, and why old resentments explode when algorithms clap. Tonight, I'm going to tell you how a camera incident became a regional brawl. Korean superiority on one side, Southeast Asian overpunishment on the other, and a backlog of feelings underneath. Just remember, loud accounts aren't whole countries, but they can hurt real people. We'll keep that in mind the whole way. Ready? Let's walk in together. One more thing, we're going to steelman both sides. Not to excuse racism, not to excuse doxing, but to understand how people justify what they're doing. Sound fair? After the show, Malaysian fans post complaints. Professional cameras were banned, but some got in. In K-pop, those photographers are often Fansite masters, Homma, part hobby, part unofficial media. Fansites aren't official, but they're powerful. They feed the fandom with sharp photos, run birthday ads, even organize charity projects. So when they break rules, it feels like privilege. Local fans say the big lenses blocked views and ignored venue policy. That's the core complaint. Not Koreans exist, but anyone who breaks host rules ruins the night. Then comes the risky move. A clip shows the photographer's face. The post spreads fast because humans love a villain with a screenshot. Have you noticed that pattern online? From Malaysia, the message is simple. Respect our venue. That's the host country rule frame. When you're a guest, you follow the house rules. Basic fairness, right? But from some Korean accounts, the reply flips the script. She apologized, so delete the face. You're doxing a private person. Suddenly, the argument isn't about cameras, it's about punishment. And that shift matters. Because once people feel attacked, they stop talking about the original harm. They talk about counter-harm. That's how internet fights mutate. So now we have two moral stories. Story A, rules and fairness. Story B, privacy and mob justice. Both can sound reasonable until pride and prejudice walk in. Here's a question. If someone breaks a rule in public, is it fair to show their face online? Or is that turning accountability into a digital scarlet letter? In Southeast Asia, some say, without exposure, nothing changes. In Korea, some say, without privacy, anyone can be destroyed. And both sides have receipts, clips, posts, translations. But the internet isn't a courtroom, it's an arena. And in an arena, the goal isn't truth. The goal is winning, dunking, ratioing. You've seen that, haven't you? So the fight spreads from one thread to another, then to threads, then to comment sections that never saw the concert. People join late, choose a team, and swing anyway. At this point, it could have cooled down. An apology, a reminder of rules. Everyone moves on. But that's not what happened. Because a different fuel entered the room. Superiority. Some Korean users stop arguing privacy and start sneering at Southeast Asians. Looks, money, culture. That's where a rules debate becomes a dignity crisis. And dignity makes people explode. And once dignity is on the table, people don't negotiate. They retaliate. So Southeast Asian users clap back, dragging Korea's plastic surgery, suicide rate, and birth rate into the fight. Notice the move. From "you broke a camera rule" to "your whole country is pathetic." That's collective blame. It's lazy, it's viral, and it's terrifyingly effective. Now the camera is basically forgotten. What's left is identity. And identity fights don't end with "sorry." They end when someone feels humiliated enough to leave, or to escalate further. Let's name the two fires. Fire 1. A strain of Korean superiority, treating Southeast Asia as a lesser audience. Fire 2. Overpunishment, turning one offender into a target for thousands. On Superiority, you can hear it in the language. If you like Korean singers, respect Korean culture, said one defender. That's not a request, it's a hierarchy. It's the unspoken idea that K-culture is something others should be grateful to receive. When that vibe shows up, Southeast Asian fans don't hear culture. They hear colonial energy. And then the mocking spreads. An Indonesian music video, a rice field joke, cheap shots about English. These aren't critiques, they're status games. Who's modern and who's not. Now, over punishment. Local fans say exposure is accountability. Korean defenders say it's harassment. Both are reacting to fear. Fear of being disrespected, fear of being hunted. Here's the scary part. Platforms reward the harshest version of your argument. The more extreme the post, the more engagement. It's like the algorithm is pouring gasoline. So even if most people just want fairness, the loudest clips become the representative voice. And then everyone responds to the worst of the other side. Spiral time. Ask yourself, have you ever argued with a stranger online and realized you're not talking to a person anymore? You're fighting a symbol? That's what happened here. Then racist imagery appears. Posts that compare people to animals or flatten whole countries into stereotypes. That's not banter. That's dehumanization, and it flips the moral temperature instantly. And dehumanization changes the rules. Once you feel dehumanized, you stop caring about proportionality. You care about power. That's when SEAblings becomes more than a hashtag. SEAblings, CA plus siblings, means if you drag one of us, you get all of us. It's a promise of mutual defense. Kind of like a digital neighborhood watch. But neighborhood watches can become mobs. And mobs don't just punish the guilty, they punish whoever looks like the enemy. That's the moral hazard in overpunishment. So we're stuck. Condemn superiority without excusing harassment. Condemn harassment without minimizing racism. It's a tightrope. And people online hate tightropes. They want a team jersey. Meanwhile, news coverage starts calling it an anti-Korean backlash and boycott wave. The story becomes bigger than fandom. It starts touching national image and soft power. And when national image gets involved, governments, brands, and media all have incentives to simplify. They hate us. They're racist. They're jealous. Simple stories travel fastest. Now the backlog. Why did some Southeast Asians say, "This isn't new, this finally burst"? Because this camera fight landed on years of small slights and big insults. First, lived experience. Surveys in Korea have found many immigrants reporting discrimination, often based on country of origin. That's not Twitter. That's daily life. Jobs, housing, stairs. Second, language that cuts. Recently, a Korean local official used the phrase "importing Vietnamese women," sparking official complaints from Vietnam. That word, import, hits like a slap. Third, the market dynamic. Southeast Asia is a powerhouse audience for K-pop and K-dramas. When fans feel treated as cash cows, resentment builds quietly, then erupts loudly. So when a Korean account mocks poor C fans, it doesn't land as one rude comment. It lands as confirmation of a pattern. They've always looked down on us. But here's the twist. SEAblings wasn't invented for this fight. It grew as a cross-border solidarity meme during regional protests. The network existed already. This time, it mobilized fast. That matters because solidarity infrastructure makes outrage scalable. With a ready-made label, you don't need to convince each country separately. You just say siblings and the door opens. Now mix that with translation tools. People translate insults into Korean, back into Malay, into Thai, into Tagalog, sometimes losing nuance, sometimes sharpening it. Misunderstandings multiply. So the fight becomes less about a person with a camera and more about two images. Arrogant Koreans versus revengeful Southeast Asians. Images are easy, reality is messy, and this is where we need to breathe. Most Koreans aren't posting racist memes. Most Southeast Asians aren't doxing strangers. But the loudest minority can steer the whole ship. Still, loud minorities don't appear from nowhere. They grow in spaces where stereotypes get laughs and no pushback. This feud forces everyone to ask, what did we normalize? If you're Korean watching this, you might think, we're being attacked for one troll. If you're Southeast Asian, you might think, we're dismissed again. Both feel real. That's why this conflict spreads beyond fandom. It's a mirror. It reflects how people rank each other by passport, skin tone, accent, income, and how fast that ranking turns violent online. In the camera rule, it becomes symbol. They broke the rule because they thought they could. Whether or not that's true in every case, that's how it's read. Here's my question to you. When you see a rule broken abroad, do you assume arrogance or ignorance? And when you see a call-out, do you assume justice or revenge? Let's step inside the online courtroom. The prosecution says, Korean superiority is real. Look at the insults. The defense says, you doxed a private citizen, that's immoral. Both sides cherry-pick the worst evidence. One racist meme becomes all Koreans. One doxing clip becomes all C fans. It's collective guilt packaged for sharing. Then comes the sentence, boycott K content. It feels satisfying, like slamming a door. But practically, online boycotts are uneven, short-lived, and they often hit the wrong people. Meanwhile, companies stay quiet. Promoters say, read the rules. Agencies avoid controversy, and fans are left fighting fans. Ever notice how institutions love it when crowds fight each other? If this were a real court, we'd ask, who enforced the rule? Was there preferential treatment? What was the exact apology? Online, those questions get buried under punchlines, and punchlines escalate. When someone feels cornered, they reach for identity weapons. Race jokes, poverty jokes, your country jokes. It's the cheapest ammo and the most damaging. At this point, the conflict starts recruiting outsiders. People who don't care about Day 6 at all, but love conflict. They join to farm likes. Rage bait becomes a career move, so the feud becomes content. Reaction videos, summary threads, explainers. Each retelling shaves nuance and hardens camps. You can almost hear empathy evaporating. Ever felt that? But there are also quiet counter voices. Koreans apologizing for racism, Southeast Asians saying don't answer racism with racism. Those posts rarely go viral. Isn't that depressing? Here's the paradox. The internet can build solidarity across borders, like SEAblings did. And the same internet can weaponize that solidarity into harassment. Tool or weapon depends on hands. Zoom out. K-pop is global now, which means Korean culture meets dozens of local rulebooks and sensitivities. When Koreans say, respect our culture, locals say, respect our home. So who adjusts? The guest? The host? The company? The fandom? In reality, everyone has to. But online, compromise feels like losing. That's why fights keep repeating. If you're Southeast Asian, the urge is, we've been looked down on too long. Hit back hard. If you're Korean, the urge is, we're being collectively punished. Fight back. Both urges are human. Both can become ugly. Superiority says, you matter less. Overpunishment says, you deserve destruction. Neither builds the world you actually want. So what would better look like? Clear venue enforcement, no exceptions. Accountability without doxing. Condemn racism loudly, but don't generalize whole nations. Easy to say, hard to do. And for Korea specifically, the lesson is brutal. Soft power isn't just music and dramas. It's how ordinary Koreans are perceived in comment sections. That's where goodwill can die. For Southeast Asia, the lesson is also brutal. Solidarity is powerful, but it carries responsibility. When your siblings become a mob, you can hurt innocents and lose moral ground. Do you see how both sides are trapped by the same loop? Humiliation and retaliation? The loop feels like justice in the moment, but it always produces more humiliation. If you've ever been in a comment war, you know the hangover afterward. Why did I care so much? That's the algorithm using your emotions as fuel. So here's a gentle dare. Next time you see a viral feud, ask, what's the original harm? What's the proportional response? And who profits from my outrage? Back to that line outside Axiata Arena. A lens, a rule, a clip. Tiny, yet it unlocked hierarchy, prejudice, and a hunger to punish. That's the scary part, and it's human. Some Koreans saw the backlash and felt unfairly stereotyped. Some Southeast Asians saw the insults and felt finally, loudly heard. Both feelings can coexist without excusing harm. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this: dignity is contagious, so is contempt. Online, you can spread either in 10 seconds. Which one do you feed? And if you're thinking, this is just stan drama, remember how quickly it turned into boycotts and headlines. Culture wars aren't always top-down. Sometimes they're comment-up. So, after hearing this, what's your take? Was the bigger problem Korean superiority or Southeast Asian overpunishment? Or the algorithm that turned both into entertainment? Tell me. So yeah, this is where today's story ends. But the bigger question stays with you. What do you do with dignity, rules, and outrage the next time it goes viral?